one of the businesses that I've been associated with for a number of years is S.A. Casey. Shawn Casey's the owner, and he's had a construction business, S.A. Casey, in Orlando for a number of years. As you'll hear from the podcast, he is now retiring from that business. But prior to that, he had a couple of restaurants that he'd had for several years, and I was able to help him in the sale of those restaurants. From the podcast, you'll hear that he's a very experienced guy. He knows business inside, upside down, and he gives some really good tips. In particular, he talks about how you should be prepared. If you're thinking of selling a business, be prepared, be prepared, be prepared. And you'll probably by now have picked up that's my major motto. And then he talks about some of the minutiae and some of the details of the handover, what you have to do to help the new owner into the business. And there's quite a bit to it. So take a listen. It's very, very interesting. An experienced guy giving some tremendous tips on how to sell your business. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest version of Happy Buyer, Happy Seller. And today we have a very experienced businessman in Orlando, Shawn Casey. He has several businesses, just retiring now, just starting to retire from S.A. Casey Construction. And he's sort of phasing his way out of that. He and I have known each other for a number of years. I sold a couple of his businesses, both restaurants, within the last 3 or 4 years. So it's a great pleasure to have Shawn join us today.
Thank you, Shawn.
Okay, great. Now, before we start, I've got one little thing. Shawn Casey and Shaun Thornton, you might think that we have some Irish blood in us, extract from Ireland. We were chatting about this just the other day. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to bring with me today a coffee mug that I picked up, which commemorates the ultimate Irishman, Sir Ernest Shackleton, who was an explorer in the early part of the 20th century in Antarctica, and had a number of tilts at getting to the South Pole.
Got it.
And so he's my hero. My LLC is Shackleton Brokers.
Okay.
LLC. That's how much I got this. Down there, I went on a trip a couple of years ago to Antarctica and picked up this mug there, which has got all his name on it and all of his crew. He famously saved his crew when down there. This ship sank. Have you ever heard of this tale?
Yes, I have.
You have too?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic tale.
Absolutely.
28 of them, and the tale is just probably the greatest survival tale of all time. So I thought I'd just commemorate Sir Ernest, seeing as a fellow Irishman.
Sounds good.
A real Irish rogue.
Absolutely.
I have to tell you, a real genuine Irish rogue. So anyway, let's just have a little chat about a few business things then.
Sounds great.
When I met Shawn some years ago, he told me of all the various businesses he got, and then about 4 years ago, he said, "Well, I went to sell one of my restaurants, and then ultimately his second restaurant." So my first question to you, Shawn, is what was it that told you that that was the time to sell your business?
Yeah, the first one was just, a second business for me. Construction was always my number one business. So it was always very off-site. And, it's one of those types of businesses. You have a good manager, things go well, and you have a bad manager and things don't go well. So I had a good manager for a while, and when she left, I had 2 or 3 bringing them in and trying to get them to get the processes done, and they just didn't seem to be getting it. And finally, it was time to say, let's put this thing on the market. And see what's out there and see what we can do.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I was getting close to, being in my late 50s and didn't need the stress of a second restaurant or a second business,
Mm, mm.
and especially being a restaurant, which is very hard to
Oh,
run anyway.
yeah. It's funny actually. Given that this was, I'm almost going to say not really your plaything, but it was a bit of your plaything because there's a
Absolutely.
little bit of your heart in there because that particular restaurant known as Wing Shack, that was and still is the home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. So that was definitely a passion of mine to start that over 20 years ago, the Philadelphia Eagle fan club there. So we on Eagle weekends, there's 250 patrons all in Eagle gear. So it was definitely something that I enjoyed setting up and continue to still go there as now a customer.
Right. Indeed, yes. And in fact, I think, let me just think now, last Super Bowl, yeah, you were there because
Yeah.
the Eagles did the trick and won the Super
Absolutely.
Bowl.
And it was an amazing time. The new owner did an amazing job fitting 600 people 600 people in
Goodness
that
me.
restaurant for the game. I almost had people in the parking lot a little bit. It was pretty wild and did an amazing job.
Yeah. So she's made a great success of that business.
Yeah, she's doing real well. Her and her husband, they started off with a lot of the learning curve to get things going, but they seem to have it now on autopilot, and they're doing very well.
Oh, that's great news. So even during the non-Eagles weekends, they're still
Wing Shack's kind of place that has a lot of regulars.
Right.
Like
Okay.
some go there 4, 5, 6 times a week.
Okay. So what did you do to prepare? We'll talk about this business, then we'll roll on to what did you do to prepare for the sale of the business then?
Well, the biggest thing that I did was just identify all the things that have to get transferred. That's one of the biggest things that you have to do. One was, establishing price,
Mm-hmm.
and then also, how the financing is going to work, if they were going to be able to do an SBA loan,
Mm-hmm.
or if it was going to need some owner finance. There was just many factors that went into getting it set up and ready to go. It's just not signing a broker agreement and say, hey, put it on the market. It's prepping financials that the people are going to want to see. They're going to want to see some other backup, and they want to see the lease. They want to know everything about the business. So you got to be prepared to give it to them.
Yeah, and in fact, that particular deal, we had the business pre-qualified for an SBA
Right.
7A loan, and we were rolling along quite nicely.
Yeah.
And then that particular lending institution decided that they didn't want to continue.
Right.
So we had some decisions to make, or I should say, you had some decisions to make.
Yeah, that's for sure. And to decide whether you want to hold paper and collect a monthly payment. We were in a position to do that financially. So, a lot of people aren't, and they want to get the whole check. But we were in a position to, take a note, but make a little interest on it, and so far it's worked out great.
That's great, and it's a big decision. It's a big decision for sellers to make, that they are that they're prepared to hold a promissory note. Any promissory note is personally guaranteed.
Correct.
But at the end of the day, that let's be absolutely fair. There is a risk with taking a promissory note.
True. Always a risk.
Yeah, you can't deny that. So we're going to look at some of the details of the handover in a little while. But before we do that, let's just talk about your second business, your second restaurant.
Right.
That was a little bit different in that was a franchise.
Yes, it was a franchise, and my wife was hands-on running it, and she was after COVID, just things changed in the restaurant business, and she was ready to retire 100%. So when we put together that, it had a lot of different things than an independent restaurant, where you had to, one, get the franchisor to agree to be able to transfer the ownership over. And again, once that's done, then there's things with the lease, and then all the vendors and all the other things associated with it to get it ready.
Yeah.
We were a little different position there, that we were in a mindset that when we get the right number and when we sell it, we sell it. We're not in a rush to sell it, but when the right deal comes in, we'll take it.
Yeah, it's funny. I you've heard me say this, but I'll say it again many times. There are 100 hurdles in selling a business. Getting over 99 of them is not enough. But the hurdles are different sizes.
Absolutely.
Some are relatively straightforward. Obviously, financing is a major one, but franchise is a major one as well.
Because the franchise is very picky about the type of buyer, because they want somebody with experience. They want somebody that has run some type of restaurant before, not only as a manager, but like a senior manager or somebody with some ownership too. They'd like the one that already has owned stuff, but they know a lot of times they're not going to get that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Especially if it's a one person setup, instead of a multi franchise purchase.
Yes. So in this particular case, the couple who bought the business, the lady was very, very, very experienced.
Right. She had managed for 20 years, and that was the key ingredient that made them feel comfortable in agreeing to do the transfer.
Yeah, I found with franchisors that sometimes they are geared up for resale. Sometimes they're not geared up for resale of franchise. I felt that the particular franchise that we were working with there, they were sort of in the middle there, and eventually, but we did get to the right people eventually, and then it went a lot smoother.
Yeah, I totally agree. The one thing, my wife was on the national board for the franchisor, so she was involved with the head people there a lot more than, say, a normal franchisee of the 135 there were. So that made it a little easier. She had direct contact with those people, so definitely helped. It's who you know.
Indeed. And once we got rolling there, I felt that we were on the way. But I think for anybody who's thinking about buying a business with a franchise, and who has a business that has a franchise and they're selling, that it is something you've really got to concentrate on and got to be sure of where you are and where you're going.
Yeah, because the franchisee or the franchisor, excuse me, has a lot of requirements when you come in new or come in as a buyer.
Yep.
A lot of financial requirements, experience requirements, and they look to make sure that person is qualified.
Yeah, but I think there is a transfer fee, which is not nowhere near the normal buy-in fee for a franchise. So just to remember that there is a franchise, there is a transfer fee, then there's training, but there's always training. But it is cheaper as far as that's concerned. You're not paying that large initial franchise.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay, so we'll talk about some of the details in a moment. I guess the question of did you achieve what you wanted to in both of those sales?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we wanted to achieve was just to lessen the amount of businesses we owned, and we did that.
Okay,
we were looking to kind of slow down the pace of the workload. having a second restaurant that I was running, and she was physically there
Mm.
running another restaurant. As we're getting towards retirement, we're like, hey, this is too much.
Yes. The
You know,
more.
hey, the money's nice, but there's we want some time to do the things we really want to do, which is vacation
Yes, indeed.
and enjoy life. So that was a big part of why we sold.
Okay. Okay.
Was to just change the lifestyle.
And you've achieved that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely. Okay. Now, one of the things that I say to people who are thinking and about to sell their business is, you've got a new job.
Absolutely.
So, was it a surprise to you the amount of time that you had to spend yourself, and the amount of interface that you had to have, the number of questions that I came to you with,
Yeah.
and buyers came to you with?
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of questions, a lot of answers, a lot of, you know, uh, the paperwork that they wanted to see. Maybe it wasn't the way you did your paperwork. You had to dig in different parts to find it, to show them the things they wanted you to do. We were lucky that we had a really good POS system that would print any kind of report you wanted.
Indeed.
That helps a lot.
Yeah.
I know some of the smaller um, restaurant owners maybe go out and buy one of the cheapest POSs they can find because that's they're trying to save money. But in the end, this thing really was able to do anything we wanted. They could look at all the credit cards sales. They could look at sales on certain days. They could group it per month, per week, per year, per day. Every Tuesday they wanted to see. So there was a lot of things that they could look at it. And if somebody was really detailed in what they wanted to see, we could give it to them. It just took a little bit of time, some parts, and then the overall other things. There was just always, not one or two questions, but 5 or 10 questions, and you had to be ready to answer those because the timelines between closing dates and bank information that's needed. And you don't want the bank to be stalemated for a while because you can't give them the data. And there's just a lot of things you had to do. And so you need a prep for that.
Yes.
When
you need to prep for that.
When you're getting ready to sell, you need to be prepared to answer all the questions about your business.
And I think the one thing that I always admired about you was on any of the situations, when I asked for financial information, obviously QuickBooks reports, tax returns are tax returns, but QuickBooks reports,
Right.
I could get them bang like that.
Yeah.
It's really crucial.
Yeah, because and I know a lot of small businesses, you get so entangled in running the business that you take your time away from, running the financial side of the business. So, I didn't do the financials for the last 3 or 4 months, and now I need them by the end of the week, and now you got to cram.
Yep, can't do that.
So it is key to keep up with the financial end of the business and the books so that when you are ready to sell, they're up to date.
Absolutely. It's really crucial. It's very, very, very important, because I need to this month's financials really within. I always like to think that I can get financial report for the month within 1 week of the end of the month.
And that's very reasonable.
Yeah.
One of the other things for smaller businesses that are looking to sell is they just have to be careful too about mixing personal things with business things.
Ooh, yes.
That's something you really have to watch out for, because if a buyer sees some things that maybe are not supposed to be there, they get a little taken back and get a little scared and could walk away from the deal too.
Yeah. That's always so be careful about that when you're coming to the decision that you're going to sell your business. just keep things nice and clean.
Yeah, clean is important.
As much as you can. So the process of the sale. So we went from an appraisal, evaluation of the business, and then we listed it, and then we advertised it, marketed, and buyers came along, and then we started a discussion. Any thoughts on which then ultimately led us to going under contract and then due diligence,
right.
which, as you know, is a big thing of mine. And then ultimately closing both the deals. So, any thoughts on?
I think one of the more important things that I liked what your company did was, you qualified the buyer before they even came. You brought them before you brought them to me. A lot of people are out there shopping, but maybe they got $10,000 to their name. So you go through and check their credit and their financial stability, and how much money do they have, and where's the money coming from? Is it from a long lost uncle that they're hoping to get money from, or is it sitting in the bank right there? Very important, and from a seller standpoint, just it keeps the amount of wasted buyers that come in and are not qualified. So that's one thing I really liked about the process. The other is that when you brought the offers in, they were highly detailed, and they definitely listed what they were expecting. Some were just lowball offers, but as a broker, you have to bring them to the owner.
It's mandatory.
It's mandatory. And some of them I'd look at and go, no way we're doing that. But I understand that that's the way it has to be. But that was one thing that was good, is that we didn't get infilled with a multitude of buyers that weren't qualified.
Yeah. I think I probably say this on every podcast. It's really important to understand of buyers who are interested in buying a business and come along and inquire, maybe sign a non-disclosure. Okay, that's fine, great. But in fact, only 10% of those people ever buy a business.
Right. Yeah.
So a
lot of kicking to the tires.
A lot of kicking to the tires. So that's my responsibility. I've got to bring to Shaun and sellers like Shaun, people who are, and we use this phrase qualified. Who knows what that actually means? But I've got to feel that this is a real genuine buyer in many ways. And let me just say this: if you're a buyer who's looking at any business that I've got listed, you will be asked for proof of funds. That's when you say you've got 100,000 in the bank, I'll be looking for proof of those.
Yeah, but the other part you brought up was the non-disclosure, because when you're selling a business, a restaurant, you have employees, and they get concerned. Oh my God, he's selling the restaurant. We're all going to lose our job. What's going on? But it's not like that. But that's the way they think. They all will think, oh my God, I got a new owner coming in. Am I going to still be here? We always try to assure them that when it does happen, and there's a certain point you kind of let the key people know. You have to let them know at a certain point. They and they're not dumb, but you got to assure them that, hey, you've got a good owner coming in. We've checked financials. They're going to run it the same way, or maybe they're going to run it a little different, and that's okay. They're in there to make money, and if they make money, the employees are going to make money.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially in the restaurant business when you talk about tip wages.
Of course. Good point. Very good. That's an excellent point. Yeah. So that's non-disclosure, very important. And as and when I'm glad you brought that up. But as and when and if you should disclose to any of the employees, and I've experienced where a buyer said, I want to meet all of the employees beforehand, and the answer is no. Certain selective, maybe under certain circumstances, but it is very important. And it's cruel. It's a little bit cruel that the seller of the business goes in on when we closed on the sale of the business yesterday. It's a little bit cruel, but unfortunately, that's the professional way that it has to
And when
be.
I bought Wing Shack back in 2000, we did a deal, and myself and my partner walked into the restaurant and just, hey, we're the new owners. That's how it started.
Yeah, which can be a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
Well, can we just talk a little bit? We've got some illustration of the details that you gave the discussion on details that we had on the first business that we sold. So let's just have a little chat about that. And it's a long list, I can tell you.
Yeah, and you don't realize how many vendors and other types of companies that you work with. And how I came up with the list was I looked at my bank account and literally would go down and go, okay, we pay these guys once a month. We pay these guys once a quarter, pay these guys once a year. We pay these guys every week. And you can just see it in your bank account. I just started listing them all. And then you look on your maintenance side, who do I call to fix my electric? Who do I call to fix the air conditioning? Who do I call to fix the clean out the grease trap? Who cleans the hood?
Yeah.
Who pumps the gas in for the LP? Who does this? Who's your electric company? Who's your water company? And you start just writing down a list, and next thing you know, you've got a list of 30 or 40 or more vendors that you deal with. And one of the hardest parts of the transfer when you finally get with somebody is coordinating 40 transfers. And at the right time as well.
Yeah,
and the timing of it. And the hardest part is that making sure that when you transfer it, some people want you to shut it down and the new person to open it up. Some will transfer, some will not. So that timing is critical. And one of the mistakes we made was we called up the electric company and said, hey, on this date, we want to cancel the electric. Not knowing that we had 2 meters on our property.
Oh.
I never really read the electric bill that close. Huh. So they closed the 1 meter and transferred it. And then they closed the other meter and didn't transfer it. So half the building was on and half the building was off. So
I hadn't heard that. Oh.
Yeah. So, those are the fine details that you really got to look into when you're doing these transfers. And then the other part of the transfer is that you're talking to these people and, you have that non-disclosure, but you're talking to these vendors and they, have people that go, hey, hey, they're selling,
Yeah.
So word gets out when you start doing the vendor work.
Right, of course.
Word gets out on the street and you got to kind of, manage that. And it's difficult to manage, some people will say, hey, we're selling it. We got a new owner, and some people just deny it until the end.
What are we talking about?
It depends on how secret you want to keep it, how you think that your employees are going to react.
Right.
Some react and just go, oh, I'm going to go get another job, or I'm not going to work for anybody new. I've always liked these people. That's why I'm here. Most people, it's like, hey, I don't care. As long as we do the business, I'm here to make money. And so there's a lot of factors that go in on that.
So one of the things on the list there is insurance.
Absolutely.
And that's a biggie. I remember a deal some years ago where we assumed, should never do that, we assumed that the insurance broker would just write new insurance for the new owner.
Right.
Turns out that the insurance company I don't know, but let's say the company we're not writing that kind of insurance
anymore.
And
Yeah.
we found that 2 days before closing, and then so you've got to think about those things beforehand.
Yeah, because like I say, a lot of stuff is you have to get your own. We can't just transfer it. And so that's the critical part, is you got to simple ones that just say, oh, we'll just put the new company name on here, sign a piece of paper, and we'll start it on this date.
Right.
Simple piece of cake.
Yeah.
But the other part that's very difficult that I found, credit card processing, Uber and Uber Eats, and DoorDash, those were the hardest people to deal with.
And you've got to have them these days.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
In the restaurant business.
And it was very frustrating to wiggle through those processes. But sometimes it doesn't happen before closing or at closing. So both times we sold the restaurant, the buyer and myself would have a Excel spreadsheet of things that maybe I paid, but were supposed to be paid by them, or that they paid, and it was an older invoice that I was supposed to pay. So literally for about 60 days to 90 days, we had a plus minus spreadsheet. And, every 30 days we would get it back to zero. If I owed them $500, I'd write them a check. And then if the second month they owed me $1,000, they would write me a check. So it's a little bit of trust there going on.
That's the magic word.
Yeah, there's a lot of trust going on that. But both times it's been successful with us, that we, everybody was stand up about it. Hey, I see. I was supposed to stop March 1st, but you kept getting billed till March 10th. So I owe you for 10 days.
Right.
So that happened a lot, and it happens a lot more than you think.
Well, it's sensible. It's the only, in many ways it's there. What about local licenses in Orange and Orange County and City of Orlando?
Yeah, both those. The transferring of the license is always difficult because it's timing again, especially liquor, because you can't operate with somebody else's license. So that's the hard part. Like, that license needs to be ready to go on a certain date. But then if the closing gets delayed, then you could have issues there. So it's really critical. And BBPR, alcohol and tobacco, they'll have a dual license. Yeah, I'll have one, they'll have one.
Okay.
So it helps, because sometimes that closing gets delayed, and then it's like, oh, well, you're not, if they came in, it's like, oh, you're not allowed to sell liquor. It's like, oh my God, you're screwing up my business here. So they were pretty reasonable. Health inspection always has to happen before the transfer. And alcohol actually come in and count your seats too. So if at a certain time, that when you paid your impact fees at the beginning, and it was for 150 seats, and all of a sudden somehow you grew and there's 170 seats, the impact fee people come chasing after you for those 20 seats. So that's something you need to be aware of, is how many seats you have in your place. And if you're getting an SRX liquor license, you need to make sure you have the amount of seats that is required for the alcohol license.
That's
because everybody at those transitions, you got inspectors coming in there, and you have a business license inspector from the city that's going to come in and check your life safety. Your fire extinguisher's up to date, your hood up to date, your exit lights are working, your emergency lights are working. They'll come in and do that, make sure your aisleways are clear. So there's just a lot of government gets involved in the transfer too. Yeah.
So it's interesting, actually, because all this has to come together, has to liaise with the landlord, the franchisor, and of course the banks. All of these timings, It's not easy. It's got to be done, thought through. And of course, what you hear from Shawn is how experienced he is, and he knows his business inside out, upside down. And that's how it's got to be. And that's all part of you've got yourself a new job. As a seller, you've got yourself a new job.
It's almost like a transfer broker. You got to be able to know exactly what to transfer, how to transfer, and most importantly, when to transfer. So when something stops, when something starts.
So that's a lot for people to think about. But, it's done all the time, but that's what you got to do. So one final question then. What advice would you give to anybody considering the sale of their business?
Well, I think the biggest thing is be prepared. Make sure your financials are in line. It's just like selling a house. Somebody walks in the house and it's messy and unorganized. They're not going to put the number that you want on it. So make sure things are organized. Do that big cleaning that needs to be done, that maybe you've put off a little bit. Get in there and get it all cleaned up. Look at organization of things, and also look at back of house organization.
Right.
Do I have all the processes in place? Do I have my finances looking good and not, receipts everywhere, and I don't know what I'm doing. They want to see someone that's organized.
Yes.
So make sure that you are prepared and organized, and make sure your place is clean.
And that any business at all, that's really, 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 really key. Well, okay, Shawn, thank you very much. I really appreciate your insight there. It's always been a pleasure to do business with you.
Sure.
And I guess, enjoy your retirement.
I will. Absolutely.
Just about there now.
Just about there.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening to Happy Buyer, Happy Seller. The sad truth is only 15% of businesses listed for sale actually sell. Hopefully this episode removed some of the stumbling blocks to sale and highlighted the ways in which barriers can be overcome. If you're a business owner thinking about selling, or a buyer considering your next step, I'm always here to chat and help you think through your options. So, to learn more or access additional resources, then reach out to me directly at www.happybuyerhappyseller.com. Don't worry if you're not ready to make a move yet. An early conversation can make a real difference down the road. And if you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with someone who may be considering selling or buying a business. Until next time, I'm Shaun Thornton, helping create happy buyers and happy sellers. Cheerio.